Something massive is happening around XRP right now, and the entire crypto market is watching closely because a shocking statement connected to Ripple's leadership has created absolute chaos online. People are now asking one question everywhere: can XRP really explode toward $200 faster than anyone expected? Large investors are moving, XRP trading volume is suddenly rising, and social media is filled with predictions that sound unbelievable even for longtime crypto holders. But here's the important part most people are missing. Behind all the hype, there are real developments happening around Ripple: global banking adoption, regulation changes, and institutional interest that could completely change XRP's future. In today's video, we're breaking down exactly why analysts are suddenly talking about massive XRP price targets, what Ripple is quietly building behind the scenes, and whether this prediction is realistic or just another crypto frenzy. Stay until the end because the final details may completely change how you look at XRP forever. The XRP market has entered another explosive phase, and investors around the world are once again focusing their attention on Ripple and its growing influence inside the global financial system. Over the past few years, XRP has experienced extreme highs, painful crashes, legal pressure, and nonstop criticism from people who believed the project would eventually disappear. But despite all of that negativity, Ripple continued expanding partnerships, improving payment technology, and pushing deeper into international finance markets. Now, many XRP supporters believe the project is entering the most important period in its history. The recent excitement started after major online discussions began spreading claims that Ripple leadership sees enormous future potential for XRP. Social media exploded almost instantly because the number being discussed was not $10 or $20. People suddenly started talking about $200 and beyond. That kind of prediction naturally sounds impossible to many investors, especially because XRP has spent years trading far below previous expectations. However, longtime XRP holders argue that most people still do not fully understand what Ripple is trying to build globally. Ripple is not trying to become another meme coin or short term trading project. The company has spent years building financial infrastructure focused on cross border payments, banking liquidity, and international money transfers. Traditional banking systems remain slow, expensive, and outdated in many parts of the world. Sending money across borders can still take several days, involve multiple middlemen, and create massive transaction costs. Ripple's goal has always been to solve that problem using blockchain technology and XRP liquidity solutions. Many investors believe that if Ripple successfully captures even a small percentage of the global payment industry, XRP demand could increase dramatically. The global payment market handles trillions of dollars every single day. That is why XRP supporters constantly talk about utility instead of hype alone. They believe XRP is one of the few crypto assets designed for real financial movement rather than speculation only. Another reason why excitement is suddenly growing again is because regulatory pressure around Ripple appears far different than it did during the peak of the SEC lawsuit era. For years, uncertainty around regulation stopped many institutions from fully supporting XRP. Large investors often avoid assets facing legal battles because uncertainty creates financial risk. But as Ripple gained partial legal victories and clearer positioning in the market, confidence slowly started returning. At the same time, Ripple has continued expanding internationally. The company has focused heavily on regions like Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Europe where governments and financial institutions appear more open toward blockchain payment innovation. XRP supporters believe these partnerships could eventually create large scale transactional demand if Ripple's systems become integrated into daily banking operations. Another important factor is the growing conversation around tokenization and central bank digital currencies. Many experts now believe blockchain infrastructure will play a major role in the future financial system. Ripple has already positioned itself inside these discussions by offering payment solutions and financial technology services to institutions globally. Supporters argue that if Ripple becomes deeply connected to future financial rails, XRP could benefit enormously over time. But while excitement continues growing, critics remain extremely skeptical. Many analysts argue that predictions like $200 in 48 hours are mathematically unrealistic under current market conditions. They point out that XRP would require an enormous market capitalization increase in an incredibly short period of time. Crypto markets can move aggressively, but reaching those levels almost instantly would likely require historic institutional inflows and unprecedented trading activity. Still, hype spreads quickly in crypto because markets are driven not only by fundamentals, but also by emotion, speculation, and investor psychology. Whenever people believe a massive breakout is possible, momentum can build extremely fast. Fear of missing out becomes powerful, especially when influencers, analysts, and social media personalities begin repeating aggressive price targets every hour. This creates a dangerous environment for inexperienced investors because emotional decisions often lead to losses. Some traders enter positions without understanding market volatility, liquidity risks, or broader economic conditions. XRP may have strong long term supporters, but short term price swings can still become extremely violent in both directions. What makes this moment different, however, is that XRP is no longer viewed only as a speculative asset by many institutions. Ripple has survived years of pressure and still remains one of the most recognized blockchain payment companies in the world. That alone keeps investor attention locked onto XRP whenever major news appears. And right now, the combination of renewed optimism, institutional rumors, legal clarity, and aggressive online predictions has created one of the biggest XRP discussion waves seen in months. The next phase of this story may determine whether XRP enters another historic rally or faces another cycle of massive volatility that catches retail investors completely off guard. One of the biggest reasons XRP supporters remain so confident about the future is because Ripple has continued building during periods when most crypto projects were simply trying to survive. While many digital assets depended almost entirely on hype cycles and online promotion, Ripple focused heavily on forming relationships with financial institutions, payment providers, and governments. That long term strategy is now becoming one of the main talking points behind these massive XRP predictions. Many investors believe the real value of XRP is connected directly to utility. In simple terms, utility means actual real world usage instead of only trading speculation. Ripple's technology is designed to help financial institutions move money faster across borders. Traditional international transfers can involve multiple banks, high fees, and long settlement times. Ripple wants to reduce those problems by creating near instant global transactions using blockchain systems. Supporters argue that if large financial institutions begin using XRP at scale for liquidity and settlement, demand for the asset could rise dramatically. This is why XRP holders often talk about adoption instead of only price action. They believe the project's long term success depends on real integration into global finance rather than temporary social media hype. Another major factor creating excitement is Ripple's growing role in international markets outside the United States. During the legal battle with the SEC, Ripple aggressively expanded operations in regions that were more open toward blockchain innovation. This allowed the company to continue developing partnerships even while uncertainty existed in America. Now, many XRP investors believe those international relationships could become extremely valuable in the future. Several countries are actively exploring faster payment systems, blockchain based settlement, and digital financial infrastructure. Ripple has positioned itself directly inside those conversations. This does not automatically guarantee XRP will skyrocket overnight, but it strengthens the argument that Ripple is trying to solve real financial problems instead of chasing temporary crypto trends. At the same time, institutional interest across the entire crypto market is growing again. Large financial firms are no longer ignoring blockchain technology the way they did years ago. Banks, investment companies, and payment giants are now exploring tokenization, digital assets, and blockchain settlement systems. Even governments are studying how digital currencies could operate within future economies. For XRP supporters, this is incredibly important because Ripple's business model fits directly into financial infrastructure conversations. Unlike projects focused mainly on decentralized entertainment or online communities, Ripple has consistently targeted institutional finance. That gives XRP a very different narrative compared to many other cryptocurrencies. Another important detail driving speculation is liquidity. Ripple's on demand liquidity system uses XRP as a bridge asset to move value between currencies quickly. If adoption increases significantly, supporters believe XRP demand could increase alongside transaction volume. The theory is simple. More usage could eventually create more demand for XRP within payment systems. This is where extreme predictions begin appearing online. Some investors believe global banking integration could eventually create enormous XRP valuation growth because the international payment industry handles trillions of dollars every day. They argue that even small market penetration could have massive effects on XRP price over time. However, this is also where reality becomes important. There is a huge difference between long term potential and short term price movement. Claims that XRP could instantly reach over $200 within 48 hours are viewed by many analysts as highly unrealistic. Markets simply do not move to those levels without extraordinary conditions. For XRP to achieve such explosive valuation growth in such a short time, the market would likely need a combination of massive institutional buying, worldwide regulatory breakthroughs, extreme retail frenzy, and possibly major shifts in the broader financial system. While crypto markets are known for volatility, price targets that aggressive usually depend more on emotional speculation than realistic short term analysis. But even though many experts reject the timeline, some investors still believe XRP could eventually reach extremely high prices over the long run if Ripple succeeds globally. This difference between short term hype and long term vision is extremely important for investors to understand. The crypto market often moves in cycles driven by narratives. When excitement builds, prices can rise rapidly because traders fear missing opportunities. Social media accelerates this effect dramatically. Once influential personalities begin posting bullish predictions, millions of retail investors suddenly rush into the market searching for quick profits. This emotional momentum can create temporary explosions in price action. However, it can also create dangerous corrections when reality fails to match expectations immediately. Many inexperienced investors buy during peak excitement and panic during market drops. That cycle repeats constantly across crypto markets. Meanwhile, experienced XRP holders often focus less on daily volatility and more on Ripple's long term expansion strategy. They watch partnerships, regulatory developments, payment integrations, and institutional adoption trends rather than hourly price charts alone. Another factor adding fuel to XRP speculation is scarcity psychology. Some investors believe that if institutions eventually require large amounts of XRP liquidity, available supply on exchanges could tighten significantly. Whether that theory fully plays out remains uncertain, but it continues driving major online discussions. What cannot be ignored is that XRP remains one of the most talked about cryptocurrencies in the entire market, despite years of controversy. The project survived legal attacks, exchange delistings, market crashes, and heavy criticism, yet it continues attracting massive global attention. Now the market appears to be entering another emotional phase where optimism is rapidly increasing. Every Ripple update, every institutional rumor, and every legal development is being analyzed intensely by investors searching for signs of a breakout. The biggest question now is whether this momentum will evolve into a sustainable long term rally or become another cycle of short term hype followed by painful corrections. Either way, XRP has once again captured the attention of the global crypto market, and the next developments could shape its future for years to come. As XRP continues gaining attention across the crypto market, many investors are beginning to focus on something far bigger than simple daily price movement. They are focusing on the possibility that the global financial system itself may be entering a major transformation period, and Ripple wants to become part of that future. This is one of the biggest reasons why XRP supporters remain extremely confident despite years of volatility, criticism, and market uncertainty. For decades, international banking systems have operated using old financial infrastructure that many experts now consider outdated. Cross border payments can still take several days to settle, especially when transactions move through multiple countries and banking networks. Fees can become expensive, delays are common, and businesses often struggle with liquidity management when moving money internationally. Ripple believes blockchain technology can improve this process dramatically. The company's payment systems aim to make international transactions faster, cheaper, and more efficient. XRP plays an important role inside this vision because it can act as a bridge asset between different currencies. Instead of pre funding accounts in multiple countries, institutions could potentially use XRP liquidity to move value instantly across borders. This idea may sound technical, but the concept is actually simple. Ripple wants to reduce friction in global money transfers. If institutions begin using these systems at larger scale, XRP demand could theoretically rise because more liquidity would be required to support transactions. That possibility is exactly why long term XRP investors continue holding through difficult market periods. They believe Ripple is building infrastructure for future finance rather than chasing temporary crypto trends. Supporters often point out that many cryptocurrencies focus mostly on community excitement, while Ripple has spent years targeting banks, governments, and payment providers. Another reason excitement is growing again is because the crypto industry itself is changing rapidly. Institutional involvement is becoming more serious than ever before. Large asset managers, banks, and financial firms are increasingly exploring blockchain solutions, tokenized assets, and digital payment systems. The conversation around crypto is no longer limited to retail traders searching for quick profits. Major financial institutions now understand that blockchain technology could eventually reduce operational costs and improve settlement speed. This shift is important because it creates opportunities for companies like Ripple that already spent years developing financial focused blockchain solutions. At the same time, governments around the world are researching central bank digital currencies, often called CBDCs. These digital currencies could become part of future payment ecosystems in many countries. Ripple has already positioned itself within discussions related to CBDC infrastructure and digital payment solutions. XRP supporters believe this could become extremely important over the next decade. Some analysts now argue that the real competition is no longer between individual cryptocurrencies. Instead, the competition may eventually become about which blockchain networks integrate most effectively with the real global economy. Ripple supporters believe XRP has a strong position because of its focus on financial utility and institutional partnerships. However, massive predictions like XRP reaching $227 in 48 hours still create controversy, even among bullish investors. Many experienced traders warn that unrealistic expectations can damage investor judgment. Crypto markets can move aggressively, But extreme price targets often spread faster than actual facts. This is where emotional investing becomes dangerous. During periods of intense hype, many people stop analyzing market conditions carefully. Instead, they begin making decisions based purely on fear of missing out. Social media can amplify this behavior quickly because dramatic predictions attract more attention than cautious analysis. When influencers post massive price targets, excitement spreads rapidly across online communities. Investors begin imagining life changing profits, and emotions start driving decisions instead of strategy. This emotional environment can create sudden buying pressure, but it can also lead to sharp crashes if expectations fail to materialize immediately. Experienced investors usually focus on probability rather than fantasy. They understand that long term success often depends on patience, risk management, and understanding the fundamentals behind a project. XRP may have strong long term potential, according to many analysts, but even strong projects experience violent corrections during speculative cycles. Another important factor affecting XRP is the broader crypto market itself. Bitcoin still influences overall market direction heavily. When Bitcoin rallies strongly, investor confidence often spreads across altcoins, including XRP. When Bitcoin weakens, the entire market can experience pressure regardless of individual project developments. Macroeconomic conditions also matter more now than they did during earlier crypto cycles. Interest rates, inflation concerns, global liquidity, and financial market uncertainty all influence investor behavior. Institutional money tends to move carefully during uncertain economic conditions, which can affect crypto volatility significantly. Despite these risks, XRP continues attracting global attention because Ripple remains one of the most established blockchain payment companies in the industry. The project has survived challenges that many believed would destroy it completely. Instead of disappearing, Ripple continued expanding operations internationally and strengthening partnerships. That resilience has created strong loyalty within the XRP community. Many holders believe the project's biggest growth phase may still be ahead. They see Ripple's legal progress, international expansion, and institutional positioning as signs that the company is preparing for much larger adoption in the future. At the same time, skeptics continue questioning whether XRP can truly achieve the valuation some supporters predict. They argue that market capitalization realities and liquidity mechanics make certain price targets extremely difficult under current conditions. This ongoing debate is part of what keeps XRP constantly trending in crypto discussions. Right now, the market sits at an important moment where optimism and uncertainty are colliding. Some investors believe XRP is preparing for a historic breakout, while others believe social media hype is creating unrealistic expectations once again. But one thing is clear: XRP is no longer being ignored. The asset remains at the center of one of the biggest conversations in crypto, and every new Ripple development continues fueling speculation about what could happen next. The reason XRP continues creating massive debate across the crypto world is because the project sits directly between two powerful forces. On one side, there is enormous optimism from investors who believe Ripple could become part of the future global financial system. On the other side, there is strong skepticism from analysts who believe many XRP predictions are emotionally driven and disconnected from realistic market conditions. This conflict is exactly why XRP remains one of the most watched digital assets in the world. Over the last few years, Ripple has transformed from a company fighting for survival into one of the most recognized blockchain payment firms globally. During the SEC lawsuit, many people believed XRP was finished. Several exchanges removed the asset, mainstream criticism increased, and uncertainty dominated investor sentiment. But instead of collapsing completely, Ripple kept expanding internationally and continued building partnerships. That survival story alone changed how many investors view XRP today. Supporters now believe Ripple proved it can survive pressure that would destroy many other crypto projects. This created stronger confidence inside the XRP community because people saw Ripple continue operating even during intense legal battles. As legal clarity improved, investors slowly began returning. Institutions that once avoided XRP because of regulatory fear started paying attention again. The possibility of broader exchange relistings and institutional accessibility created fresh excitement around the asset. Many traders believe this renewed accessibility could eventually increase liquidity and investor participation significantly. Another major reason people are discussing XRP aggressively again is because of the growing importance of blockchain efficiency in global finance. Traditional banking systems move slowly compared to modern technology expectations. Businesses now expect instant transactions, faster settlements, and reduced transfer costs. Ripple's technology directly targets those issues. Supporters often argue that Ripple has already spent years preparing for large scale financial integration, while many other crypto projects focused only on speculation cycles. This belief creates long term conviction among holders who think XRP adoption may increase gradually over time instead of exploding overnight. At the same time, tokenization is becoming one of the most important topics in finance. Large financial institutions are exploring how real world assets like stocks, bonds, and currencies could eventually move on blockchain systems. If blockchain based settlement becomes more common globally, companies like Ripple may benefit because they already operate within financial infrastructure conversations. Some XRP investors even believe future banking systems may require bridge assets capable of moving liquidity efficiently between currencies and networks. XRP supporters see this as one possible long term use case that could increase demand dramatically if adoption scales globally. However, despite all these bullish arguments, responsible investors understand there are still serious risks and uncertainties. Crypto markets remain extremely volatile. Even strong projects can experience sudden crashes due to market fear, economic uncertainty, or regulatory changes. XRP itself has experienced massive price swings throughout its history. This is why experienced traders constantly warn against emotional investing. Predictions like XRP will hit $227 in 48 hours create excitement, but they can also create unrealistic expectations that lead people into risky financial decisions. Many investors enter markets during peak hype without understanding how quickly volatility can erase gains.